Jeremy from jeremy.net. So it's time for my monthly figure drawing purge. I go through all of the work, all of the sketches and drawings I've done at figure drawing class and pick out the ones that I'm going to post on my blog in the coming months and show you also the ones that I end up rejecting and why. Let's start with some drawings on tone paper. Right now I'm taking a class being taught by Ron Velasco at the Animation Guild. It's anatomy with light and tone. So normally I only do tone paper drawings if I'm doing 10 or 15 or 25-minute drawings because I don't feel like I'm fast enough to get any of the real detail and anatomy down. Well, actually, in terms of working with tone, you can convey a lot of description of form with tone paper and then using white chalk and charcoal pencil together to describe volume, both the light and the dark. But I still haven't mastered the technique well enough that I can do it quickly. So usually I need longer poses in order to use both the charcoal pencil and the white tone paper. And the white chalk. So I started marking on these that they're 10-minute poses. I started marking the time of the poses kind of for two reasons. Like as you can see for this one, even though I kind of basically lightly blocked in the figure, I didn't really get a whole lot of description in. And one is that a lot of times I may post a drawing, you're like, if it looks like a particularly good drawing, you may think, wow, that's really cool, nice work. But it may be something that, as opposed to a quick sketch, it may be something that I spent a long time on. So you can say, like, oh, that's why this is a little bit more detailed. But in a way, it's also me being, I guess, a little bit defensive. Because there are a lot of drawings, like for instance, this one, I don't feel like it's a horrible drawing, but I definitely could have firmed up, described more of the structure of the anatomy, particularly in the shoulder, kind of all on the left side of the form. I separated my lights and my darks, but beyond that, and describing just the general direction that the limbs are going, I got very little anatomic description in there. And I guess I feel kind of vulnerable about sharing drawings where I know that I didn't communicate much. I didn't get much of what the goal is. So I guess putting the time there, so if you see a drawing and you're like, oh, that sketch, you only spent 5 minutes on that, you might say, oh, well, for 5 minutes, it's not that bad. And my whole point of telling you that is because I want this to be kind of an earnest video blog. I want to share with you the thoughts, the struggles, the things I do well, the things that don't come out well. And I honestly feel like sharing the things that aren't up to snuff is more important than sharing the stuff that looks great, because it's making art is hard. And when you feel like you look at stuff that other people does that does look good, you're like, wow, I'm not going to be able to do that. And I don't think that I'm drawing something that someone's going to look at and say, wow, I could never draw what you draw. It's not like I'm a master draftsman. I'm sharing with you my journey to become a better artist and to improve. But I guess showing that, like, I'll put a little 10M or 5M or 15M next to a drawing. I started doing that now, so like you can see how long it takes me to do this, because I know that sometimes when I look at other people's drawings, I wonder how long they spent on that. And sometimes it has the opposite effect. I'll see a 5-minute drawing by somebody and I'm like, how the hell did you do that in 5 minutes? But it's also good because it makes me realize what can be possible in 5 minutes. Oh, I didn't really say anything about actually posting them. I don't think I'm going to post this one on the blog. I'm on the fence, and because I'm on the fence, I'm probably not going to post this one either. This one, oddly enough, I like the way I describe the anatomy of the torso, the abdominal muscles, and the obliques coming up the side in the white chalk. If I had actually bothered to finish describing the breast coming off of the rib cage, I think I would feel like this is actually a pretty decent drawing. But because of that, it kind of ruins it for me. Yeah, I don't think any of these tone paper drawings really came out that well. And that's okay. That happens. It gives me something to focus on. Maybe I'll do a figure drawing. I can't even remember the name of the videos when I go through and I redraw my bad drawings. But whatever the hell that is, I'm tired. It's been a long week. Whatever the hell that is, maybe when I redraw some of my bad figure drawings, I will specifically pick some tone paper drawings to work on. I'm not saying I'm definitely going to do that because I've got a lot of stuff to redraw and to work from. Anyway, it's another one where it's just an anatomical study. For a lot of these poses, we haven't been doing particularly long poses, so I started kind of shortening down and focusing just on a limb or a torso, just trying to get to the basics. This is another 10 definitely not going into the blog. The sense of volume is horrible. The sense of turning the form is horrible. That's something I need to really focus on more. It's not just showing, here's the light plane, here's the dark plane of the figure, but the in-between, not just halftone per se, but how you actually describe light turning over across a form. I need to really focus and work on that. So, yeah, this one's not going in. And I'm wondering with this, whether the model was just lit from below, because I have no idea why I would... It looks more like a drawing that should be this way. Yeah, I don't know what I was doing there. And actually, yeah, the model might have been lit from below. So that's all for the tone paper drawings. Let's see what else we got here. Let's see. I think I might put this one in the blog, and just because of the way that they're composed, maybe have this one with it. Yeah, but the other ones are just, I barely got any detail in at all on those. I was just sort of messing around with getting the gesture. A lot of times when I start during the first set of poses, or even the first 2 sets of poses in class, I may just be focusing just on almost like stick figures, just getting used to the anatomy of the model, getting used to the way that their body proportions are laid out. The types of poses they take, because sometimes models take really challenging twisty poses, sometimes models take poses with a lot of foreshortening and overlap, and sort of like wrapping my mind around that. Like, when I've taken classes with Carl Ganas, he does not believe in warm-ups, but my ass feels like I need to warm up every time I draw. And maybe that might be because if you're drawing all the time, then you don't need to warm up because you're always warm. This one I don't think I'll post, but it had the potential to be a good drawing because it had a really great dynamic pose the model had, with his legs just going back behind the staff that he was using for support for his upper body. So it had a really nice twist and elegant sort of wrap around behind it. So yeah, but I'll put those 2 in the blog. Let's see. You know, I don't think I'm going to put these in the blog because even though I drew these were studies from Ron's demo. And usually when I'm drawing something that's the actual work of the instructor, like sharing it here in the blog and telling you that it's their work, that's fine, but I don't like to post stuff in the blog that's necessarily based on someone else's work unless it's fan art. I prefer to keep like my drawings just my drawings. And if it's actually the instructor's instructional material, I usually kind of keep that stuff just for me. So yeah, these were actual studies based on the demo that that Ron was giving us in class. This drawing's not bad. I think I may end up posting this one. This one's not a particularly great drawing, but he's got a nice stretch to it, and it's almost like I was working on really compartmentalizing the space between the pecs and the latissimus muscle. So trying to get the serratus muscles and the obliques, and really trying to look at the latissimus on one side and the pecs on the other as an envelope to kind of contain these 2 muscles in here. So I might post this one just because it's an interesting way to think of those side torso muscles, and it will require some refinement, obviously, on my end. Not refinement in terms of redrawing it, but in terms of me, it's an idea that I want to explore more, because there's an idea, not as for some artists, that you don't necessarily need to know all of the different muscles and all the names. If you understand the muscle groups and how those groups function, then you really just understand the major masses and forms. Now, I think that as you learn more and more about drawing, you get curious about the subtleties of why a muscle that's for the most part going in one direction has a certain ridge or a bump in one area, and that's when you get into deep anatomy. It's sort of natural to be curious as you study and learn more. But the fact that I still keep going back to my fundamentals, even though I've been drawing for many years, leads me to things about going both into the deeper anatomy and at the same time trying to go back to the surface anatomy and still look at what are just the major muscle groups, because I feel like I'm still trying to refine both ideas. And I think I'll post this one just because I kind of like the way that I totally described the shoulder, the whole shoulder girdle up on this side of the figure. Let's see. I should have done a better job of describing his hair because its hand is wrapping around this large mass that's back here is actually all hair, but it almost looks like I just gave them a giant elephantitis skull. So there's things about that I'm not happy with, but I will post drawings that have things in it that I'm not happy with if there's something interesting in it. So it's kind of weird. Usually I like my tone paper drawings, and you know, a lot of the newsprint stuff I'm kind of so on, but I'm surprised that so far it's been the newsprint ones that I really enjoyed. This is a little bit different because Ron, he showed us a technique that I have known for many years. It's existed for a long time. It's not a new figure drawing technique, but the idea of instead of drawing on tone paper, to make your own tone by rubbing, actually hell, I can show you because this was a particular night where I didn't get a chance to finish it, but I had laid out these, I just went in with a charcoal stick and rubbed down like 4 squares because I was going to do I think we were going to do a bunch of 10s, and for some reason I didn't get it, the rest of the poses were short, so I didn't get a chance to do it. But if you just rub a square or a surface area, whatever your frame is going to be for that drawing, rub it down with a charcoal stick and then smooth it out, then to go in and use that as your tone paper, and instead of drawing with white chalk on it, to pull out the whites with the eraser. And it's the very similar effect, almost the same effect as drawing on tone paper, but what I found for some reason is that pulling it out with the eraser instead of drawing it in with white chalk, it felt more painterly to me, and I cannot explain why. I may, as I continue to use the technique, be able to internalize it and come back and say, oh, it was this reason, and you'll be like, yeah, duh, that makes complete sense. Why did you not be able to figure that out? Point being is that from the minute I tried it, even though I've known that this technique has existed since I was a kid, I've heard of people trying it. I just never tried it before. I tried it, fell in love with it. It feels a lot more like painting than just drawing with charcoal pencil or drawing on tone paper. So I really enjoyed it. That said, the fact of how much I exaggerated the torso going up into the upper arm to the point where it feels like the arm is coming out of the middle of the pecs. So that's all wrong and all messed up. If I got rid of that, it's actually not a bad drawing. I think that I will post this on the blog because I think this technique is interesting, but that bothers the shit out of me. See, here are a couple of short scribbly poses. And you know what's funny? Normally I don't really do, they're 1-minute poses, and normally I don't post my 1-minute poses, but there's something about this particular page, it feels so free and energetic that I really, really like it, and I think I'm going to put this one in the blog too. Let's see. These two no, this one yes, and it really just comes down to how much of a sense of volume I got to describe. It's hard for me in the sense that in figure drawing classes, very little of what I draw feels finished to me, because I'm not trying to make masterpieces in that class. My goal in the class is to learn. I'm trying to deconstruct the mistakes that I make so that when I do more formal pieces, they'll be better and I can apply the knowledge I learned in class. So I try to give myself the leeway to just make really shitty drawings. But like as you can see here, the thing I talk about, redrawing them, this was the drawing that I did in class. This is the drawing that I did during the break where I was like, the foreshortened thigh that's farther away from us, it just ended in sort of a sphere. And I was like, no, wait, let me try and get the sense of it coming towards us, a little bit more of the foreshortening. Let me try and get the underside of the kneecap. And the fact that I can't remember if it did fold over her knee slightly or whether I made that as an editorial decision. But, you know, obviously trying to use overlap to help convey the foreshortening. This was me in class during a break going back to this drawing and really trying to figure out what I was doing wrong. And I do like that, so I'm going to probably, hell, I may post like this whole block. Well, I was kind of doing the same with both of these drawings, because this drawing is a redraw of that one. And even the little note I made for myself to look for the strong silhouette. I make notes of things that I'm not doing that I should be doing. I do that in my drawings all the time. I'm putting a lot of shit in from this class. I don't think there's anything particularly interesting about the drapery on this one, so I think I probably won't post any of these. Let's see. Yeah, this must have been from the end of my costume and draped figure class. That was towards the end of summer. This drapery is kind of nice. Not anything special, but I feel like this could have been nice if I'd actually finished the upper torso of the figure, but that's kind of the problem with doing this poses when there's a lot to draw and not as much time, and I end up picking upper torso or lower torso, or upper body or lower body, rather. You know what? I don't think that there's necessarily enough there. Like, these feel a little bit more finished than some of the other, some of the other sketches that I've posted. But there's something about it that doesn't quite sit right with me. I think it's that idea of like reaching around, trying to communicate, describe things, and the fact that I didn't get around to what I was trying to describe. That's the problem I had. And it's the problem that I have with this drawing. Like, I feel like I was going in there and trying to describe volumes and the way that shapes turned, and it just feels like a real ham-fisted version of that. So that didn't really work for me. These pants down here are kind of nice. And it's kind of weird to just post a picture on a blog of just some legs. But, yeah, I don't know. I kind of like it. So I guess maybe that'll go in. Let's see. So back to nude figures, and they feel really scrappy. Like, the fact that I'm not using long, fluid lines. I'm aware of a lot of these things, and I try to break myself of that habit of drawing in those scrappy ways. This might have been like the first night of the new class. And anytime that I'm like away from the figure for just 2 or 3 weeks, my shit starts getting real wonky. I don't know why. I probably need to make it a point when I'm on the breaks between class to do... I usually don't make time to go to other figure drawing workshops, but I should at least do some cast drawings or drawing from anatomy books just to stay a little bit sharp in between. I don't like anything on this page. The scrappiness of those 1-minute poses I showed, this has none of the elegance of the scrappiness. It has none of the elegance of those scrappy drawings. Let's see here. And this one, the model took a really interesting pose, and I didn't quite get it down. I think this is one of those, I think they were probably pressing that hand out against the wall for support, because it's a really weird twist to them. Looks horrible. Not going in. Let's see here. This one is me kind of starting, I think this is when you can tell I'm starting to warm up. Just getting the twist of the torso. They still feel really stiff and blocky. I'm really not happy with much of this page. Maybe I'll post this drawing. This one's not horrible, but it's still pretty patchy in comparison to most of it. This one is a prime candidate for redrawing because it has all of the elements of a complete drawing, but just done very poorly. And those are the type of things that I'd like to go back and restudy them all. Why did I crash and burn on this drawing? I should have, if I got all this stuff down in the amount of time we had. You know, I've got, you know, the limbs, the feet, the twist, the whole figure. Even though I didn't get this hand, I can kind of figure out where they all are. All the pieces are there. They're just misshapen. So that's a prime candidate for me to go back and restudy. Let's see here. I think this was from the first night of Ron's class. We gave us a quick demo on basic lighting, you know, highlights, light areas, local tone, halftone, shadows, coarse shadows, reflected light, and cast shadows. I think if you've ever studied figure drawing at all, you've come across this kind of diagram many times. It's in almost every figure drawing book there is. This drawing, again, could have been a really good one, except the proportions of the width don't match up to the proportions of the height in this figure. So volumetrically, it's sort of incomplete. And the fact that this hand is all mushy, just sitting over it, doesn't help. I could have left the hand off completely and gotten really into the description of what exactly the ribcage is doing. But between the two things, it's not working. And I think the head, if that's the head, and that's two heads, And to double that would be 4 heads. Eh, it's in proportion, but it's not. I don't know, the head still feels a little small to me. And this is just awful. Just awfully awful. Awfully awful. And this isn't a pity party. This isn't me saying it's awful so that you guys can write and say, hey, your stuff's not that bad. It's me trying to look at my work with a critical eye. So when I say that something's awful, that's a really good point. Actually, I should say, what is specifically awful about this? Because the point of me doing this is to show you what my problems are with it so that I can learn from it. And in this one, the fact that I am still poor at doing the res pectoralis muscle. Because the rib cage wraps around. It's facing. It's a little box of floss. The rib cage is facing away, but not like a profile. It's not even a 3/4. It's just sort of away-ish. And the fact that the rib cage is rounded, so it kind of rounds away as it's going. And the problem is, I've got this muscle that lifts up off of that rounded form and goes up into the arm, but I'm losing the wraparound of the rib cage. I'm losing the sense of the arm going up, and just how far out I have the shoulder. You wouldn't be able to see the deltoid or this side of it or the latissimus going up into the figure on this side if they're turned away from you. It would be sort of hidden, and you would see more of the shoulder kind of behind the head, and the head is too far over to the left. Now, the point of me putting this back on here and talk about that is that these are the things that I go back and study in my drawings, so I can learn what I'm doing wrong, so that the next time I'm in front of the figure, I can say, oh wait, don't make this mistake. Observe where the head is in relationship to the shoulder, whether it's really far behind them. Observe how far out, how much of the shoulder or the latissimus you can see when the figure is turned slightly away from you. Because if it's none, then it should be none. You really shouldn't show it. And observe how the angle and the form that right here, even though I put kind of a direct triangle in here, I may have gotten the line that separates the pecs from where the triceps go in, but I definitely did not get the sense of the actual three-dimensional structure of that shape. I just had a line separating them, but on this side, in the actual pec, it's just sort of mush. It doesn't really describe anything. It's just sort of there, and those are the kind of things that I'm trying to be aware of, to teach myself to look at, to observe, and that's part of the things that I want to share with you guys. Let's see. This one's not bad. It's not horrible. It's not fantastic. It's not horrible. I might change my mind, but for now I'll put it in. And I know that that's kind of the opposite, because I told myself if I was on the fence, then I probably wouldn't put a drawing in. This, I liked the idea of, like, instead of using a chamois, I've been using tissues. And I just have like a small pack of travel-sized tissues. I've been using that instead of a chamois. I don't know why I like it. I guess it just feels kind of softer to me. I could get a cotton chamois that would give me a really nice soft feel, but I like the idea of just using something that's disposable. And I'll use a tissue for like 2 or 3 months to rub down until it's like this gray, wrinkled mess, but it's still super soft. And I like using that. And then eventually I'll throw it away and just grab a new one. So in comparison to using a large cotton chamois, it doesn't really matter which one you do use or don't use. Well, I say that not having used a cotton chamois. Who knows? I might really love the effect if I did it with it. This one, it doesn't really describe much. It's an interesting technique. Let's see. I really like the pose on this one. And the fact that it's surrounded by these loose gestural drawings. I think I may post this. This one I like. And this one feels a lot more finished, but I think this may not even be from a model. I think I may have started sketching this from either a Bridgman book or some anatomy book during class. And this feels a little bit more finished in comparison to a lot of the stuff that I've been showing you. So, yeah, this page is pretty good. I'll put that one in. In fact, because I put that other one in, this one, taken back out. This one's coming back out. Yeah. I'll put it in the redraw pile. Although I will tell you, lately I haven't had any time to go back and redraw some of my bad drawings. Last time was that ink drawing, drawing with the brush and ink that I posted a few weeks back. Let's see. This one I think is one where the model gave us a kind of a naturalistic, relaxed pose. I don't know if I did much with it. This would be better if I'd actually finished it because she's got a nice twist to it. And the hands, I'm not really conveying what the hands were doing because they were just sort of like this, normal, holding like rope, and they were sort of wrapped around, but I didn't really convey any of that. So it's too vague. That's something that will make me not put a drawing in, as if it's vague. With this, it's vague in terms of I didn't describe the thumb or the fist itself, what the hand's doing, but you get that feeling of it being balled up in the shoulder and pressed in. So that's descriptive enough that I would put this in, but I'm still not completely happy with it, so nah. This one's not bad. I'll put that one in. Just, and again, it's because the fewer lines that I'm using, and it's not that I'm necessarily trying to use as few lines as possible, but I'm trying to get to the point. This one, it's a simpler drawing, and I'm describing more with less, and that's the main goal, because if I can make it feel like a complete and whole and finished drawing with a limited amount of tone and line, then whatever details I have, as long as those ideas and details I add stay subservient to the overall structure, instead of me adding more that muddies it up, then that's how you can decide whether you're enriching a drawing or destroying it. Like for instance, in this one, the detail in the lighting here is completely destroying form. I think that I was trying to, there was a weird lighting effect with light coming hard from the left side, and it also gave a rim light here on the torso, but it doesn't feel like that. It feels like there's a giant wishbone coming out of his side. A, it's not going in. B, it's a horrible ass drawing. C, I can't even begin to go back and restudy it because I would need to replicate that lighting scenario to try and figure out what the fuck I was doing with this. No good. That one's not going on. This one's not bad, but it's not particularly interesting enough to throw in. And the neck feels a little bit off. Either the neck is not quite over far enough to the left, or what's more likely is I didn't get enough of the deltoid. Like it feels like the deltoid should be out just a little bit farther and then go insert into the shoulder just a little bit farther out as well. Huh. And this one, that's just me just commenting right to myself. I'm all, yeah, what I was trying to do here with the cloth and the fabric, this one is again from costume and drapery class, that I just did not describe any of the underlying form with the fabric, and I didn't describe what the fabric was doing. It's just a bad jumble, which is a shame because this drawing right here is a nice drawing, and I think I will post this one. And then lastly, a couple, I guess these are some 3-minute poses I did. And I wonder whether I'm doubling up, because I feel like I may have shared this. Oh, these were what I used in the ink drawings when I said I was going to go back and redraw some stuff from class and redraw some poses in ink that I had done in charcoal. And this one up here is one of the ones I did. I may have done this one too. So that's what this is, and I'm guessing that the ones next to it are kind of the same thing. Yeah. Not horrible drawings, but they're nothing worth posting on the blog.
Thanks for watching. If you enjoy these videos, please like and share them. Don't forget to click the subscribe button. You can sign up for my weekly newsletter to get a free digital comic at newsletter.jeremy.net. That's newsletter.gerimi.net. Also, visit my main website, jeremy.net, where you can buy my comic books, art prints, and more. There's also links to my Instagram, Twitter, and other social media accounts. That's it for now. Go be creative.